Welcome to another episode of Prepper Talk Radio, Radio for the Ready-Minded, the podcast for the prepared. Today we have Scott and I on the show. Shane is incognito. He's somewhere in the world. If you can find him, let us know.
What's he, Carmen San Diego now?
Yeah.
Where in the world is
the
prepared guy Shane? Where'd he go?
So today we're going to talk about a comment that came up recently about something that happened with Ashton, I believe, in North Carolina, and the big floods that hit there. Some of you might say, "What? When? What?" I know, right? It's like things happen so fast in the world that some of the things that just happened maybe 3, 4, 5 months ago are already like forgotten or in the back of our minds. So I think it was Ashton was North Carolina. That big flood was just over 6 months ago. But we're now hearing a little bit about some of the things that they may have, they have some lessons for us to learn. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. But before we do, let me just remind you that one of the most important things you can do is get prepared. And if you're going to be prepared, you might as well do it on a discount. So go to our good friends over at survivalfrog.com. That's survivalfrog.com, and use code PrepperTalk10, 10, not the word, the numbers, PrepperTalk10 to get 10% off of any of your preparedness items. They got a plethora of items over there. They got all kinds of stuff from food to power banks to knives and other stuff. So just go over there and check out all the things they have. Great stuff. And you'll get 10% off if you use our code, and our code stacks with some of the stuff they're already doing. So make sure you take advantage of that.
I have their old car jack. Like, this is a battery bank that you can use for a lot of things. It's got a light on it. You can jump your car like 5 times. But like, they've got a new one that's even better, and I'm gonna go get it. But like, the summer travels, have you ever gone somewhere and then all of a sudden your car's dead and you're like, oh crap, you gotta find someone to jump it?
It happened to my dad.
So go check it out, guys.
It happened to my dad, actually. He came up in April, and he went to a conference, and he's like, "Hey Paris, can you come save me?" I was like, "Sure." So, just so happened I had a I had jumper cables too, but I had a power bank jumper, and I used that instead. I'm like, let's try it. Let's see if it'll be my first time using it. I might as well try it, and it worked. And I gave it to my dad, and I said, I'll travel with you, but here I let him have it on the way home, so that in case we lost each other, he would still have a way to jump himself. But ended up he didn't need it. But he's like, hey, where did you get this? I want to buy one of these. I'm like, this is it's good to have on. It's definitely good to have on hand.
Right.
So
it's funny, like as a prepper, all the things that we have that we take for granted. Like, I've got jumper cables, I've got battery banks, I've got jumper banks, I've got lockpick sets. Like, and so I get called when people need things, right? If I had a truck, people would call me to move them every weekend. That's just how it is.
Yeah.
But like last night, I did a TikTok on this. I was so frustrated. People locked a door at an office that they don't have a key to. And they're like, we got to get back in so we can set the alarm. And they're like, can you please go and unlock it? And I'm like, oh. So the whole time I'm like going over there, I'm all mad. I'm like, I got to go unlock this thing because nobody else has a lockpick set. And like, the kids were at the office with the moms, and they just somehow locked themselves out of that door. But nobody has a key for that office, and that's where the security system is. And I'm like, damn. Really? So I had to go in. I had to use my lockpick set. And this is like my second time picking that same door, because this has happened before.
Yeah, I remember you telling about that.
So I had to I did a video of it last night on TikTok, and I got a lot of people laughing. And they're like, dude, don't buy a truck. Everyone will want you to move them, right?
Right.
Like, that's part of the challenge of being a prepper, is like, you have tools and resources. So everyone's like, hey, help us out.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, I have a list of sweet our leave me alone.
Right. What's funny too is I was at Costco the other day, and I wanted to buy. They had a deal on Bluetooth speakers, because our old Bluetooth speaker for our family kind of died. You know, when we go out to the lake or to this pool or wherever, it's nice to have this music playing. And I looked at one. There were several options that were there, and the one I chose was like, it said, the reason why I chose it was because it was waterproof, it floated, it had like a handle on it, and it said, this also doubles as a power bank to charge your cell phones. And I was like, bro, all in one, let's go. So the more features, and that's because I want to be I'm a preparer. And I'm like, you know what? This has more features that I would use. So this is the one I went with. Turns out I got a better deal on it at Costco than I would if I had ordered it on Amazon. So sometimes you got to shop around and make sure you're getting the things you want.
Yep.
But let's jump into our specifically the topic that we thought about today was on one of our lives a couple weeks ago. I think it was Practical. Maybe it was some of the others that you guys probably remember hearing about him. He's one of our regulars. In fact, he'll be on our live tonight, and he'll be on our episode next week talking about Gray Man techniques and tactics. But he shared with us that a lot of the people in North Carolina said that after 6 months, they wish they had more food storage. So they had apparently I'm just bringing make two and two, putting two and two together here. Apparently they several of them most of them had enough food to last for 4 to 6 months. And now they're running out because it was about 6 months ago. Now they're running out of food. They still haven't got their supplies in. They still haven't had the repairs. Their community is still down in many ways. And so they were just like, we wish we had a year to 2 years worth of food. And that's kind of the topic that we want to talk about today. How much food should you have? And if you want to get to 2 to 3 years worth of food, what are the steps to get there? Like, what do you do first?
Mm-hmm.
What do you do next? And then next and next and next, et cetera. What kind of foods should you have in that storage? What kind of strategies do we have that we would recommend to kind of really build out your food storage? Now, in the Bible, Joseph of Egypt was told to get 7 years worth of food. And it was just grain, by the way, that he was told to get. So there are techniques for that longer term storage, but what can we do? I mean, we're not going to talk about a 7-year supply necessarily, but we definitely want to get to a year or two supply of food. And what should we have in that list? So that's what we're going to talk about today. So let's jump in.
So yeah, so the news report talked about how they wish they had a 3-year supply of food. Their year supply, a lot of them had a 6 month to a year supply, and that lasted half the time they thought it would.
Oh, wow. Okay.
That's the thing. Like, I think most of us will see the package and be like, oh, your supply of food, buy it. And then when you look at the calorie count, you're like, great, it's a year supply of food for my dog Rover, right? It's a year supply of food for my 8-year-old.
Or based on the serving size.
Right?
Right.
Or it's sedentary food storage. Like this, I can live off this if I'm in Auschwitz, right? I can live off this if I'm just laying down for the next year. That's the problem with a lot of these things. Like, you've got to know how much you really need.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what is your caloric like requirements for the day? Have you thought about that lately, Paris?
Yeah, I've heard 2,000. I've just heard that number kind of out there. Back in the day when I was really into bodybuilding, fitness, and getting shredded and lean, I counted every calorie, but it's been a while since I've done that. I still work out and exercise, and but I have a little dad bod going on. But it's one of the funny things too is I heard this guy the other day. He was a comedian, and he's like, do you know what the serving size is for Oreos? And I was and so everybody's like, no, what is it? He's like, it's 2 Oreos.
Mm-hmm.
Like, 2 Oreos is my warm up. He was saying, he's like, I eat 2 Oreos as I have the stack of Oreos on my way to the couch to eat Oreos. And so that's the thing, is that, if you think that the serving size says 2 Oreos and that's what they say is a meal, or that's what they say you should, then they have 10 servings. You're like, oh, good, I got food for 10 days. I got Oreos for 10 days worth of dessert. Well, who eats only 2 Oreos and is fine with that? Like, you're going to eat more. That's one of the reasons why their food storage probably went out way faster, is because they had the storage that was like per serving, and the servings were way less. Not only that, but if you're sitting down doing nothing, watching TV, you need a different set of calories than if you're out working, chopping wood, pulling up, repairing roofs, redesigning, the yard because it's just been destroyed. So you got a whole different set of calories that you need with work like that.
So you can go online. There are macro calculators. You can plug in your age, your weight, your height. You can also put in like your goals if you want to lose weight or whatnot, right? Or
Mhm.
just keep the weight exactly the same. But here's what's crazy. You can put in sedentary, and that's still more calories than the food storage companies will give you. you put in active because you're going to be like moderately to very active in a survival scenario. You're rebuilding, you're doing a lot of work. So you're going to need a higher caloric intake. You plug that in. I put in very active. I need 3,381 calories to maintain a weight of 230 pounds. Right.
Wow.
I'm
I just found
300
one too.
pounds
I
right
don't know if
now.
it's the same one as you got, but mine's 2,300 just to stay the same.
Mm-hmm.
And that's with moderate exercises 4 times a week. Wow, dude.
Right.
Sedentary. I need to do what sedentary? 1,900. So anyways, because I'm shorter and skinnier, but yeah.
If I go extremely active, which is probably more likely, it says I need almost 3,800 calories a day. So when you're looking at your food storage, you need to look at what is my actual expenditure? What is the average expenditure across the board? And plan for the most expenditure so that you get enough food to cover that distance, right?
Yeah.
Because the last thing you want to do is run out of food before you've been able to resupply, right? Yeah, we can go longer without food than water and longer without food than shelter, but like barring those things are, you know, not taken away from us, like our food storage calculator at preppertalkradio.com, if you go to the free resources and request those, the calculator actually gives you a higher calorie count and you can adjust it. You can actually pick what your calorie count should be per adult and you can calculate it all out. And then what's cool is you then go through your pantry, plug in all the food that you have, and it tells you based on your servings, based on how many calories it is, how long it'll last you. And you can build that up. Like we built that just so that you could actually use it. It's my favorite tool. We use it in our house. And it's like, we know what we have, we adjust it, and we do first in, first out, we rotate. But like it's going to require a lot more food than what you think, especially if you're buying the bargain food stuff from Any Hour or any of those other places. Like food storage calculators that most people do, it's either per serving or for the calories. The ones that are for the calories, you got to watch out because there's going to be a lot of sodium and other garbage in the food. So when you're looking at food storage, your most expensive food is freeze dried. Second most expensive food is typically your dehydrated, right? And then you get into all the other stuff like your canned foods, your dry pack, your rice and beans, like your wheat, all those other things that you can start stockpiling and storing easier for longer term, right? You've also got to have water for those. You've got to have like a way to get everything cooked and prepared and hydrated. And so you've got to take into consideration all those things. But like my starting point, I tell everybody, always start with canned foods.
Yeah.
Always just get as many canned foods as you can, because the expiration label on those things isn't an expiration label. It's a best by label. And there's no like administrative requirement. Companies put those on to try to get you to throw them out if you haven't used them in that
So that you can
amount of
buy
time.
more. Yeah. That's their way of keeping you coming back to buy more.
Right. Like, oh no, my peaches went bad. I better go buy more peaches. And it's like, it expired yesterday. Well, it didn't expire. It just says best by date. And the reality of a canned food is like, you've got 3 years, 4 years. I've had like, when I was a kid, my grandpa fed me 16-year-old canned food.
No,
I was fine.
so that's what happened to you. No, I'm just kidding.
I was a teenager. I was like 13, maybe 14. And he's like, here, try this. I'm like, oh, that's pretty good. And he goes, oh, good. It's still good. And I'm like, excuse me, what?
Was that your guinea pig right now?
I'm the guinea pig. That's not my favorite grandpa, I'll be honest. But yeah, he did that to me. And I'm like, oh. And he'd do stuff like that all the time. And he's like, always make somebody else he thought he was the king, apparently. And he's like, okay, you're my taste tester. Are you still alive? Are you in the hospital? Okay, I can have dinner now. Right.
That's crazy.
That's the same guy. We went fishing and I caught fish. He didn't catch any. He was ticked. So the next day for lunch, we were going to have fish for dinner. He ate my fish without me. Like that's that grandpa. What? I'm like, dude. Yeah. And I was like, come on, man. But like in a survival scenario, like what resources do you have around you? Like, do you have fish? Are you maritime? Are you near a port? Do you have rivers and lakes and streams? Do you have your own stocked pond? Right? Those count towards your food storage. But also, what do you have on hand? And if you use our food storage calculator, you can actually set it for 3 years, adjust all the calorie counts to see how much you need. You can add adults and kids, but then also, just like Joseph and his 7 years of feast and 7 years of famine, he was told to stockpile for what else, Paris? All the people and their beasts.
Oh, and their animals too. Yeah.
They had food for the animals too. And wasn't it like just 7 years they opened up another vault and found more perfectly good wheat from Joseph's time?
Yeah. Recently. Yeah. The ancient,
Yeah.
yeah. Some huge silo
Yeah.
from Egypt was just, yeah. It's crazy. 1,000 years
Phenomenal.
later, it's still good.
Right?
Or however many
Like,
thousands of years later.
who knows? It was definitely post Moses, so we're not too far out. But like we look at all these different things and we're like, okay, what's going to store really well? Like there are certain things, like you're growing your garden. There's certain things, like certain types of squash can just you keep it in a cool place, under 70 degrees, preferably between 50 to 70 degrees, and they'll last up to a year or longer, right?
Mhm.
So you're growing food storage that you can rotate and you can put in there. It doesn't need any special can. You don't have to can it. You don't have to bottle it. You just leave it in the gourd, right? Leave it in the shell. And then when you're ready for it, you chop it open, eat it, right? But like your food storage should be things that you're always already eating.
Mhm.
Like,
So that's like the first step. You mentioned the first thing to do is get canned foods, and so
mhm,
that's part of the strategies to get canned foods. But do that in the first thing to do if you're brand new and you don't have any food storage at all. What I would say is go out and the next time you go shopping, just get one more of everything, or maybe get one more of half the things, or whatever you can afford to get one more of each thing. And then every time you shop, get two more and then three more. Before you know it, you're going to build up a week, and then you're going to build up a month, and then you're going to build up 3 months. And
mhm,
3 months, the first phase of your food should be rotational food that you're eating every day. And that you just need to, if it's not in, like, for example, I have an upstairs pantry and a downstairs pantry. The upstairs pantry has all the stuff that I'm going to eat with that week. The downstairs pantry is that if I run out of it that week, I can go downstairs and pick it up and bring it up. And so
yeah.
I have almost, I mean, I even have in your 3 month pantry, my opinion, it's still okay to have some consumables like, your ketchup, your mustard, your mayonnaise, and that whatnot. But past 3 or 4 months, you're gonna that kind of stuff can go bad a little faster than canned food. So be careful with that. But definitely, as you're building out your pantry, you want to have your 3 month. If look at it at 3 months, but don't get overwhelmed with 3 months. Start with a week, start with a month, start with 2 months. You know what I mean? Build your way up to it, but the best time to start your 3 month pantry was 3 months ago. The next best time is right now. And so get started. Do something to get started. In my opinion, after I have my 3 months, this is what I did. After I got my 3 months, I bought a few of those 3 month supply of the freeze dried foods or whatever the dehydrated foods. I bought them from like I can't remember the name of the company, but I bought a couple of those. So that gives me potentially another 3 months of food on the other side of my pantry's 3 months. Now I have another 3 months of food with that. And then what I did was I went out and I bought a bunch of beans and rice and noodles and spices, a lot of spices. Now, one of the things I feel like is that, you might say, well, Paris, you only have 3 months worth of like packaged meals and dinners, nice, freeze dried dinners. Yeah, except if I took those dinners and let's say I cooked a cup of rice and I added a cup of rice to each one of those dinners, now that 1 day dinner is going to last me 2, 3, maybe 4 days, depending on how much rice I put in there as
Mhm.
filler food. So now I have a strategy for my dinner meals to make them last longer by putting in some rice. Now, Scott brought up a great point. To cook rice and those meals, you're going to have water. So now what's your water storage? Not only water storage, but after the storage is gone, do you have some way to go get more water? Like he mentioned, rivers and streams. Well, it's nice to have a river or stream nearby, but you got to also have a filter to be able to
Mhm.
get that water and make sure that when it comes into your home, you're either cooking it, boiling it, making sure that that gets done, or you're using you can use our aqua filter, the aqua purifier. If you check out our website for that, you can, on our recommendations, that's one of our affiliate links is for a water purifier that is excellent. And so those are kind of just some basic starter ideas and strategies. Scott, you have
Yeah,
something
because
to add to that,
if
or?
you look at the water, like So there's water treatment and there's water purification, right? And there's water
Yeah.
filtration. So treatment is a type of purification, but so if you go to aquaresearch.com, go to their store, and you can use the code PrepperTalk and save, I believe, 10% off their
$6.
H2Go. The H2Go, I have a couple of those, but it's great because it creates a bleach or chlorination type solution that you can use to purify water. You can use it to create a hand sanitizer. You can use it to sterilize things for medical purposes and uses. They've got a lot of great resources, and they've got little cheat sheets to tell you what you need to do. But like, you've got to have a way to clean your water. I've got tons of food storage, but one of the things, like with my rice, I've got dry pack rice, and then I've also got instant rice.
Nice.
Instant rice doesn't need as much water, and it's ready quicker, right? I just
Mhm.
got to get it warmed up. But it's less calories. It's not going to last as long. But like, I have buckets and buckets of food that are dry pack foods and dehydrated foods, right?
Mhm.
And the other problem that a lot of people have is like, they'll store a ton of wheat, right? The wheat kernel, the little wheat seed, that's got to be ground.
Mhm.
How are you going to grind it? Do you have a manual grinder? Do you know what to add to it then to then make it into a bread, or like a flatbread, or anything like pasta, whatever you want
Yeah.
to make it into? Like, do you have on hand the things you need to be able to do that? So think about all the different things that you're eating. Oftentimes, one of the best things you need to do is just go find a really good book that's all about recipes. We've got Sarah Thrush, who from Peelies and Petals. Her book's on our website as well. If you go to our resources and our library pages, like, you'll see a ton of these cool things. But she has a lot of food storage specific recipes designed to save you $10,000 to $12,000 a year by storing the right things, utilizing them in ways to just save money, but also be very tasty and useful.
Mhm.
Right? How to expand a meal. All those things are in her book, but like, you got to know what you have, and you got to know how to use it. Like, we have tons of rice and tons of beans because I don't have to change the bean into something else to be able to use it, right? And rice and beans together makes a more complete protein, which is good, but I can use both of those to increase my meal volume, right? And so we've got a lot of recipes right around those, and that's stuff we already eat. I want to eat it more so that I can keep rotating it, but I always just use what we have, then rotate another one through. And the nice thing about these, because they're dry pack, and then we put them in Mylar bags, put some oxygen absorbers in there, throw them in a bucket, put them in the cold storage so they're always below 70 degrees. Like, we're going to get years and years and years out of these things, even if we don't rotate them in the next year or two, right? So having a 3-year food storage is not impossible. Canned
No,
foods last that long.
especially if you have food that lasts 3 to 5 years,
Mhm.
you don't have to rotate it that often.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
And you can, like, we bought a lot of ours from restaurant supplies. So we did wholesale restaurant supply and bought a pallet full of rice and beans and all this other stuff.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I think episode 408 is, our first interview with, Sarah Thrush. We've had other episodes with Sydney, who talks a lot about, food storage, preservation, canning, things of that nature. Sydney, our last episode with her was 396, I believe.
And she's
And,
awesome. Like,
those are some great episodes to go back and look at. And we're actually bringing, I think we're going to have Sarah on in the next couple of weeks
mhm.
to talk more about this and get some more insights from her. And we've talked to Sydney, and we would love to have her on again soon too. So hopefully we'll get to have her on again as well. But canning is if you're gardening anyways, and you're growing food anyways on a regular basis, every season you should can the extra, and then that's your cue to rotate it. Is the next season you can rotate the 5-year, 6 to 10-year-old food, or whatever, however old it ends up being. You can rotate that food, and then you can still keep a 2 to 3 year, 1 to 3 year, whatever rotation going, because you're rotating out your canned foods that you can out of your garden every season. That's a cue for you to do that. Another thing is with you pick a time of the year, once every 6 months or something like that, where you can just do a quick inventory, especially for water, or some of those longer term storage things, and just make sure that everything's up to date and you've got it where it needs to be. But if you can add the bulk staples, you want to have sugar, you want to have rice, you want to have beans, you want to have noodles. Noodles are good and they can last forever. And then store up a bunch of spaghetti sauce, that you can use or whatever you want to do. And the other thing is that if you have a lot of spices, spices can add a lot of flavor, because I'll be honest with you, just the thought, I mean, there's some countries in the world that they eat rice every meal and they've done it for their whole life. But
they've got a lot of different spices and different things that they mix it with, right?
yeah,
It's
for
not
sure.
just here, dry beans, right? It's not.
So you got to have those spices to help you, and have different spices, because one meal you're having a little Southwest whatever, and the next meal you're having a little Asian whatever, and the next meal you're having a Mediterranean whatever, or a lemon spice, and they're like, dude, it's the same rice, but it's a whole different experience because of the spices you're using, and that will help you get through those longer term. The other one last thing in my comment right now is that when you're in an emergency, be smart about recognizing, yes, you're going to need to have some calories to be able to survive and thrive and get through the emergency, but also realize that you got to remember to ration the food until you have a resource to replenish. And so just be wise. Some of these people may have jumped into their food storage thinking, oh, well, we're going to be fixed in a month. And they weren't. It was 2 months or 3 months. And so also recognize, hey, look, we don't want to starve, but at the same time, we don't want to run out too soon. So balance that. Just be balanced with that. And then make sure you have enough food storage that you could go at least a year. Now, one of the cool things with my family is that I bought food storage for when we had 5 or 6 people in our house. Now we've got 2 of our daughters married off. Our other son moved away. And so there's only 4 of us left. Well, I still have the same amount of food, but now it's for 4 of us. I'm telling my kids who are married to get their own, obviously, so that they can build their own. But at the same time, I have to, if they want to come over to our house to get saved, now I got to get food for their spouse. So I either need to increase my food storage, which is probably a good idea anyways, or I need to make sure that they get theirs and they're really focused on getting theirs. Or maybe that's their Christmas present this year. We'll see. But
that's a great idea.
Yeah,
drop a bucket of food.
Get your food. And food you can eat. The other thing too, Scott, and maybe you can really help me with this, is because you brought it up with the wheat. One thing that if you have wheat that's in the seed form or the raw form, you got to learn how to crank that thing. You got to have a hand crank or a electric drill or something. I have a manual hand crank for my wheat, but you got to crank it once and twice, and sometimes you have to put it through that thing 3 or 4 times to get it down to a real nice fine flour. And so having an electric, there's an attachment you can do so that you can have your battery powered drill grind it down. But one thing that not a lot of people realize is that when they start eating more wheat, that's really the pure wheat, not the kind of that's enriched from the grocery store, you're going to have a whole different bowel situation. Is that fair to say?
Right. Yeah. Any massive change in your diet is going to give you some rumbly tumblies, right? But oftentimes, especially if you switch to like freeze dried foods, here's the big thing: like the freeze dried foods don't tell you all the prepackaged meal stuff. Mountain House is pretty much one of the only ones that it's fully cooked, all in, like they make it all, they fully cook it, and then they freeze dry it. Everybody else has mixtures, and this drives me nuts. They have mixtures of dry powder mixed with freeze-dried ingredients that are all brought in together. And that chemical compound and the amount of sodium that they put into those will plug you up. We had an interview with Marcelo Sergopoulos from, oh man, I just forgot the name of his company.
Food Storage Depot.
Food Storage Depot. His is all freeze-dried the right way, and they're not prepackaged meals where you're going to have cross-contamination of dehydrated versus freeze-dried versus, just dry powdered seasonings and added sodium, right? But like a lot of these, like Any Hour and all this other stuff, or Ready Hour, those guys have a lot of sodium, like a lot. And they're not fully 100% freeze-dried. They're mixtures. And so you're not going to get the 20 years out of them. You're also not going to get away from the stomach problems you're going to have by eating so much sodium so fast, right? It's going
Yeah.
to plug you up. It's going to cause a lot of digestive issues. It's going to make you feel horrible. So having other things to like mix in with it, but like, so wheat berries, that's what they're called, wheat berries. You can take that and you can grind it and you can make it into other stuff. You can also boil it and do cracked wheat. Like for
Mm.
breakfast, we did that growing up. We do boiled, we put it on the stove at night, let it slow boil overnight, simmer, and then in the morning you'd have all these cracked wheat cereal berries, right? But you'd keep it in the hot water. You add honey and you maybe add some other stuff and some cream, and that would be breakfast. Nutrient dense, a lot of calories. The honey made it so it was totally tolerable. But like
Hmm.
that's one way you can use it where you don't have to expend a whole lot of other energy to grind it and prep it to make pancakes or prep it to make whatever you want to make it, tortillas, bread, whatever, right? But you also have to consider, how am I going to prepare all this food and how am I going to cook all this food? If the power's out, what am I going to do? Do you have a sun oven? Because you can bake pretty much anywhere in America with a sun oven.
Hmm.
It just increases the length of cooking time depending on how cloudy it is there, right? And then there's other brands like the GoSun, the GoSun solar tube. That tube can cook food in very cloudy climates, and it still works no matter what. So you got to be very, very vigilant on those. We've got one of those and they're awesome. They get very, very hot. So, don't burn yourself, but you've got to
Wow.
find alternate ways to do everything. And having a backup on a backup is great, but your food storage is going to give you bad stomach problems if it's all freeze dried.
Hmm.
If it's all one food, you're going to have a different issue. You're going to have food fatigue, right?
Yeah.
You want variety. It doesn't have to be a ton of variety, but like at least change it from week to week. And you want to have options. Um, I remember hearing stories about my great grandparents. They lived in a dugout. So it was a dugout half dug into the ground, and then the other half of it was a cabin. So like 4 logs high above ground. And they would live in those up in Idaho and Wyoming. And that's how they would live. And they would put food on, they'd have a nice Sunday dinner after they'd go to church. And then they would take all the food and throw it into a pot, except for like the breads. And then they'd turn it into like a goulash that they'd add stuff to it every day. And they'd cook that and keep it over the stove warm all week long. And they'd have their meal out of that. And I'm like,
That's
wait, what?
crazy.
But that was normal back then.
Hmm.
Right. And they'd be like, oh, it's half as much as what we had. Let's throw a couple carrots in there, chop, 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 throw them in there. Oh,
Yep.
I found a rabbit out in the field. We're going to skin that and throw that in there too. Right. That's
There's a
what you've got to look at.
There was a story of a guy that he had a really rough. He was a farmer and he had a really rough set of seasons. And his wife would make bread, and he ended up saying, "Hey, we don't have enough to make a full loaf," and or they didn't have enough. They wanted to make it last, and he had his wife actually get some sawdust and
Yeah.
bark, grind down the bark down to a powder, and mix that in as a filler. And they were able to survive through some pretty tough winters until their crop actually cranked it up, and they were able to have a nice crop. But I thought to myself, who eats sawdust? That is
We
survival,
all do right now.
right? So
You are,
honestly,
you,
yeah,
do you buy grated cheese?
really, that's
It's
got
it's
sawdust in it.
got sawdust in it.
Crazy.
That's why it
Okay,
doesn't stick to each other in the bag anymore. Remember when it used to stick to each other in the bag?
yeah, it looked like, and it would be like a ball of mush after a while. Yeah.
Yeah. They put sawdust mixed in with it now.
Oh my gosh.
It's the
I just
cellulose out
had
of
some
wood,
in
but
my,
it's
I just had tacos the other day with grated cheese, and so I had
right.
sawdust tacos.
Well, okay, here's one for you. If we're gonna do food exploration, what's that famous song from McDonald's about a burger they had? Two all beef patties, special sauce,
Yeah,
lettuce,
yeah, yeah.
pickle,
Okay.
tomato on a sesame seed bun.
Yeah, that's all fake.
Well, what kind of beef is it? They
Some
call it
probably they made in a lab somewhere.
all beef is the name of the company that makes the beef. The beef is over 40% synthetic, 30% soy, and whatever's left might be from a cow's hoof. We don't know. The
Dang.
company is called All Beef. So it's 2 of their patties. That's why I don't like
It's 2
McDonald's.
all beef
Like
patties, not 2 patties that actually have all beef.
200% beef patties, right? Or 100% cow beef.
That's
100%
how
like
they
it's
that's
just
how they trick us into thinking we got what we need. They name the thing all beef,
right.
so we think it's oh, what a
Well, natural
sham.
flavors. Natural flavors is a trademarked phrase, and I think it means something like certain patented regulatory foods that aren't real are allowed to be called natural flavors, right?
Oh my
We're
gosh.
it's crazy. So like the best things to store are things you grow yourself.
Yeah.
Like
So
Sydney, she always talks about she'll grow stuff and she'll process her own meats and stuff like that. But she's like, most of the stuff she'll go to the store and find on sale. And she'll be like, oh my gosh, there's a ton of produce on sale today. I'm gonna go get this. It might be blemished, it might not be the best stuff. But then I'll go home and I'll make a stew and can it all. Or oh, there's like tons of steak over here. It's almost at the end of its life. I'm gonna go home and I'm pressure can it and it'll be good and I can have it for the next 2 years, right?
yeah, that was one thing I
Saving
got from
money.
that was one thing I learned from when we talked with Sarah, is that she'll actually cook a whole meal
Mhm.
and then she'll can the meal into
Yeah.
cans. And I'm like a spaghetti or something, or like a lasagna. And I was like, I knew you could do that with freeze dryers. Like my buddy, our friend Eric, we've talked about him a lot. He has a freeze dryer, and I swear that he's got it running 24/7, and he'll cook all kinds of stuff. Especially eggs. He gets a lot of eggs from his chickens, and he freeze dries those things, packages them up, and sucks all the air out. And
Mhm.
he's got them in, like, you would literally open up a cupboard in the bathroom or the kitchen and there's eggs in there. Like he's got eggs all over the place. It's so crazy how many eggs he has, because he's got chickens. He got a pig as well recently.
There
And
you go.
he's just in St. George. He's actually in a suburb, and he's got chickens and a pig and some other stuff. So there's
Is
some
this
ways
Mutso?
for us to what's that?
Is that Mutsos?
Yeah.
Nice. Good for
Yeah,
him.
he's doing a great job with his preparedness, especially with food. And so, if you want to go buy a freeze dryer, that's fine. We recommend that. However, the recommendation from us is that you do that after you have your 90-day pantry and a good water supply and a good bug out bag, or a good grab and go bag, your first aid kit. It's after several things, because
Mhm.
those are expensive. And if you're going to spend 5 grand and you don't have any food storage at all, spend the 5 grand on getting yourself geared up, getting everything that you need, kind of that basic setup, and then start saving for a freeze dryer. That's my opinion, anyways.
Well, like, and there's a summer sale going on right now. If you go over to our website and click on the freeze dryer under resources, there's a summer sale going right now. You can get a freeze dryer for $17.95,
Dang, that's great.
$1,795, right? So you can go get one, and it comes with the premier pump, so you're not having to do all this maintenance to it all the time, right? But what's crazy is like whether you freeze dry it or whether you can it, you've still got to remember what it is, keep track of it, and use it before it expires.
Mm-hmm.
Right. The beauty about a freeze dryer is it will keep the flavor and keep the intensity for up to 20 years if it's stored right. Canned food's not in time, like in the mason jars, right? That's not designed to go 20 years. That's designed to go a couple of seasons. I've seen people get 2 to 10 years out of it. Depends on where it's stored, how it's stored, and how well it was done. But like thanks to grandpa, I had some old stuff of that too. So
Mm-hmm.
it's, you gotta know what to watch for, know the signs. But if you go to our website again, you can get Sarah's book and she explains all the details about that. But canning is the most affordable version. And you can get a ton of cans for very cheap. And I'll tell you exactly where. So if you live in a community and people get old, what happens when those people get old and die to all their stuff in their home? They have
They
estate
they have
sales,
estate sales, yeah.
garage sales, right? I've found more cans at estate and garage sales and like the glass bottles, like in great condition. You can go buy the lids super cheap. Buying the bottles brand new, that's expensive. And you can use those bottles over and over and over for decades and
Yeah,
decades. And the older
that's
ones, honestly, I think are better quality.
I bet. So the bottom line, in my opinion, is start today, get
Mhm.
1 or 2 extra of everything as you go to the grocery store, and build up your week, build up your month, build up your 3-month supply. Once you have a 3-month supply, that's the reason why we don't go to a 4 or 6 or 7. Like, you could go to a 6-month supply in your pantry downstairs, but it's just a little bit harder to rotate that. And so it's more manageable to keep that at about a 90-day supply. You do what you want, but that's just kind of the rule of thumb. And then go get your freeze dried, go get your other stuff, go get canning, go learn how to do that stuff, and get the bulk stuff, get the staples, the wheat, the rice, the beans, the baking powder, the baking soda, the yeast, just all the kind of ingredients you need to bake bread even on your own. And get a bread maker, get some of that kind of stuff and get a power source so that you can power it if the power is down. Any last minute thoughts, Scott, before we jump?
So for those of you guys who are like apartment preppers or living in small spaces, I lived that lifestyle for a long time. So I wrote a book called The Art of Sneaky Stockpiling. That's available on Amazon if you want to go get it. It'll help you get creative in places to store. I'm not going to tell them all over the radio or off the podcast, because then everybody knows. And you want to keep your stuff sneaky, right? That's the number one rule in prepping. We don't talk about prepping. What are we doing? We're violating the rule by telling you everything on the podcast, but it's for your benefit. That's the goal. We want to help you be better prepared. But just go get the book. Go get the food. There's places you can hide around the house and people aren't going to pay attention to it if you do it right.
Absolutely. All right. Well, thank you so much for listening to Prepper Talk Radio. This is a little shorter episode with Scott and I, and we're excited to have you. Thank you for listening. You've been listening to Prepper Talk Radio, radio for the ready-minded. One last thing we want to have you do, though, is as you're looking to prepare for the future, one very important thing to have on hand is good quality, nutritious supplements. And if you want to get healthy, stay healthy, and do it in an affordable way, then go to our website at preppertalkradio.com/good life and join the membership there to get wholesale access to some of the best, highest quality nutritional supplements on the market. Number one. Number two, if you join and be as an affiliate, you actually get a chance to make a couple extra bucks, and you have a little side hustle too. So why not help people get wealthy and healthy? And go again, that's preppertalkradio.com/good life to learn more about that opportunity. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you on the next one.